Jones, do you realize what the Ark is? It's a transmitter. It's a radio for speaking to God. And it's within my reach.
You want to talk to God? Let's go see him together. I've got nothing better to do.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Film Bros Podcast. My name is Isaiah Lucas, and I am joined by my co-hosts,
Abraham
and Nick.
How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Doing good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Visited a classic for the first time.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me because this is like something that I grew up on. I remember talking about it a little bit last episode towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
My first experience with this movie was my parents getting this like old rundown RV from an old family friend, and in that RV he like left us like a ton of like old linens and like VHS and all this stuff, and there was an old VHS player in there, and there was a ton of tapes, and this movie was one of the tapes alongside the other two.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember walking through them, and I was like, oh, what's this movie? And my dad was like, oh, that movie's a classic. You've never seen it? And I think I was 12 or 13 at the time. I was like just gotten into middle school. And so like the first or second night we got this RV, we all stayed the night in it. My brothers and I wanted to sleep in it. So we like parked it in front of our house, and we were staying the night in the RV. And I remember we watched the first movie, which is the one that we're going to be talking about today. And I remember just having just such a great time watching it on this like tiny little screen.
Yeah.
But like having so much fun watching it. And then after that, my dad saw how much, me and my brothers liked it, that he went and got the second and third one on better definition, so that way we could watch them, on the bigger screen in our home, on the DVD player and all this stuff.
Wow.
And ever since then, I mean, the movies in this trilogy have just been like something throughout our household that has just been referenced to death. Like, I remember one time when I was like much older, I was on Facebook on like the family computer, and I didn't log out. And so my dad thought it would be funny to go on to my Facebook page and change my profile pictures to like the antagonist of the second movie.
Oh, the second one?
Yeah. And like I come back and I have pictures of Mola Ram like all over my Facebook page. I'm like, what the heck is this? And my dad texts me and it's just like, I changed all your pictures. You should log out and all this stuff. And I was like, what the heck? They're still up there too. Like if you go on my Facebook page, you can swipe through my pictures and see just a picture of Mola Ram.
Really?
Like, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, these movies have just been something that's been constant throughout, my childhood and adulthood. So I'm excited to see what you guys think about it. If you haven't been able to tell, we're talking about the 1981 Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
And it was written, or at least the screenplay was written by Lawrence Kasdan, stories by George Lucas, and is it Steven Spielberg as well?
I don't know, but I have a Philip Kaufman as well.
Oh, Philip Kaufman, okay. And it's directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
That's where I was going there. But yeah, this movie is iconic.
An absolute classic.
Yeah, it's considered a classic in all of everything that is cinema.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. I had a great time. It was weird because I had just finished the show Shrinking, which has Harrison Ford in it, but he's so old in that, and to see him here as Indiana Jones and him this just youthful, action-oriented guy, I was like, he has so much talent here,
Yeah.
and he's still killing it even in his old age. It was a surreal experience.
Yeah. What about you, Abe?
It was my first time watching any of the Indiana Jones. I've never experienced it until today.
What about the ride at Disneyland?
I've experienced
The
that.
ride is
the
sick.
ride in Disneyland's crazy. That's the first time I've ever seen my dad scream like a little girl.
With
It's
the
when
snake?
when the ball comes down.
Oh, when the ball comes down.
It's dude. I remember we turned and he saw it and he yelled and it was so funny.
I remember getting freaked out by the snake because like I sat on like the wrong side, and this snake pops out and just goes like in your ear, and I remember going like getting all freaked out.
Yeah.
It's funny. But yeah, it was an okay movie.
An okay movie,
Yeah.
bro. People are gonna come for you in the
Come for me.
comments.
Oh. That's
Come
what
for
it
me.
was.
That's crazy.
I will say it didn't have that, like, you know when you think back on movies you've loved and you're just like, oh, I feel so good watching this. I didn't have that. This isn't like, I don't have any nostalgia behind this movie. There was nothing to be like, you know, this is
There
such a
was
big
nothing
part of
in
my
awe
life.
for me.
I loved it. I'm returning to an older time in my nostalgic mind.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of that, so I kind of was just watching the movie for what it was.
Yeah.
Trying to see what people liked and how it had such a hold on everyone, pretty much till now. I mean, there's a 5th one coming out soon.
This year.
This year,
Yeah.
yeah, soon.
Did you guys ever play the Lego Indiana Jones game?
No,
I always thought Lego games were lame.
Oh, bro, how could you say that?
I did the Star Wars
Lego
one.
Star Wars?
Never played it.
Dude, those are certified hood classics.
They are.
Never played it.
They are.
You telling me Lego Star Wars 2, walking around the cantina starting bar fights? to that, dude. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Those are fun. Lego, I loved the Lego games.
I probably played it at one point where you just whoopsh,
yeah.
whoopsh.
I had it
Never.
I had it on the Wii.
Oh, were you able to like emotion
you would
it?
do this and it would whip. And I remember having so much fun with it.
Whips by themselves are sick.
Yeah.
Like
You think you can crack a whip?
yeah, I could.
No.
Dude, have you seen the whips with the chains at the end of the tail?
That's what I'm saying. Those things are precise. There's no way you can crack a whip.
Oh no, I don't think it'd be. Well, you see me with those towels, bro.
Yeah.
If I could do it with the towel right here, I'll probably do it with the whip.
I
What do
don't
you
know.
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't
They've
think I can-
always
I don't know.
I don't
always
think
fascinated me, just
Yeah.
like boomerangs.
Yeah.
You just think to yourself like, how?
Yeah.
Same with like yo-yos. I feel like if you're good at yo-yos, you're good at throwing a boomerang.
Yeah, there are things that are easily
Wild
explainable,
thing.
but my brain's like, no, I like it better if I just am amazed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how does it make that noise? You know, like,
Yeah, like
it's
How?
like some primitive part of me is like, I like that.
Yeah. I get that.
Which is maybe why there's a part of the reason why I enjoyed this film. I think the action here is awesome.
Yeah.
some of the action here is good.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about this movie is that it's aged so well.
Agreed.
And like there are some of these action scenes that like some directors now will like never be able to accomplish, like the complexity
Mhm.
and just feeling of intensity that these action scenes have.
Mhm.
And I really enjoyed returning to it. Whenever I watch Indiana Jones movies, I for some reason I always go to the second one.
Temple
of Doom is like that's my favorite one. And I couldn't tell you why. I think it's just because it's like so much darker. And it's like it's the odd one out of the trilogy, that's for sure. Everyone hates on that one because
really?
it's because of just its subject matter is just so much darker. It's much more grisly. It's way more violent and
Maybe
I was surprised at the violence here.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'll like that one more than this one.
the Temple of Doom is just on a whole nother level. And I think that's why I love it so much more is because it takes everything up a notch. But that was, you know, something that's crazy I found out too was that whenever the Temple of Doom came out, audiences were so surprised by it and so shocked because the first one came out, everyone loved it. It was rated PG. And even watching this now, I'm like, man, that was PG. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like people's faces getting melted off.
It
and
like
all this stuff.
spikes through faces. You're like,
Yeah,
whoa.
and you're like, dude, this is PG. Are you kidding me? That's wild, right? Temple of Doom came out, and families went to go take their children to see this movie. It was rated PG.
They're probably like,
And no, yeah, and there was a huge outcry of people that came and said like, don't support this movie. It's vile. It should have been rated R and all this
Really?
stuff. And Steven Spielberg was one of the people that went to bat to say maybe we should create a rating in between PG and R, and PG-13 was born.
from this movie?
It was one of the deciding factors
What?
between
That's actually
PG
cool.
yeah. And yeah, because of Temple of Doom and its content, PG-13 started to become a thing after that. And yeah, it's pretty wild to think about. But yeah, regardless, this movie's great.
Mhm.
I love it. Every time I'm watching it, I'm always just encapsulated into the movie. I'm not looking away because there's always something to pay attention to.
Mhm.
Even when you think there's something that's like a lull or something that's like, oh, man, that's not important. It gets called back to. Or, there's something there at the end of it to be like, oh, what's going to happen?
Mhm.
Is he going to do the thing? Oh, that happened. Now, how is that going to affect the outcome of this? And it's just rising action all throughout the movie. And I love it for what it is. And it's crazy that Steven Spielberg, was able to just create like the perfect adventure movie.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it with you guys. So we're gonna, if you hadn't heard or if you weren't paying attention in our rambling, we're talking about Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's currently streaming on Paramount Plus. So if you want to stream it, or if you haven't checked this movie out, go check it out on Paramount Plus if you have that streaming service, or rent it online for like $4 somewhere, and check it out because this movie again is a classic and it's something that I think everyone should have watched at least once. But yeah, we're gonna get into our synopsis real quick and then go into our categories.
Let's do it.
So, Raiders of the Lost Ark is about an explorer and archaeologist named Indiana Jones, also goes by Dr. Jones. And we basically follow this guy who, again, is an explorer and a professor in his daytime job or whatever. And he gets presented with an opportunity to find what's called the Ark of the Covenant. And basically these people come to him and tell him that let me preface this by also saying that this takes place in 1936.
Yeah, so we're dealing with
Hitler and the Nazis and all this stuff. And so these people approach...
We've intercepted.
Yeah, so these people approach Dr. Jones and tell him that Hitler has found an affinity for religious artifacts, and he wants to try to round them all up and just keep them in his possession, and he's really obsessed with finding the Ark of the Covenant. And we want you to try to help us find it and intercept the Ark of the Covenant from the Nazis so that way they can't have it, because it is said to have all of this power, and it's said to, no one's ever seen what's inside and lived to tell a tale about it. Mm-hmm. So we can only imagine the type of power that this might have if it gets into the wrong hands. Mm-hmm. So we need you to go intercept this from the Nazis and find it before they do. And that's Indiana Jones's whole motivating operation this entire movie, is to try to find the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis do. Mm-hmm. And while we go on this trip with him, he's fighting Nazis. He is in a love triangle, it almost seems like, and he's trying to rekindle, I shouldn't say love triangle. He's trying to rekindle a lost love that he had 10 years ago, and she's a part of the puzzle, so he has to bring her along, and it just becomes this whole adventure to, beat the Nazis at their own game.
Yes.
And who can't root for that? I mean, who doesn't want to see the Nazis go down? Yeah. Right?
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so that's basically the whole synopsis of this movie. It's a great watch and a fun time, and I couldn't recommend it more. So if you, again, haven't checked it out, check it out. We're going to be talking about spoilers and stuff, so if that's something you want to avoid, pause the episode and go check it out and come back, or if you don't care about this stuff, continue listening.
Okay.
So as always, we're going to start with our favorite scene.
Tell me this is not the best intro ever, dude.
It's such a good one.
Intro's insane.
I love his reveal.
Yes. He's kind of like in the shadows.
Yeah, they only ever show his back, like for the first, 3 minutes of the movie. and they're wandering through this area in South America, and there are these guys that are following Indiana Jones, and they're kind of telling him like, why do we keep going further? We needed to go back. Like, I'm tired of doing this. This is kind of freaky and all this stuff, right? And I just love his reveal. I love that he almost gets revealed kind of like a villain
A little bit.
and like it gets to that point by these two guys that are following him. They start speaking with one another and telling him like, we need to turn back. Like, this is too far, basically. And one of the guys pulls a gun on Indiana Jones, and right as he's about to shoot him with it, he cocks it back, and Indiana Jones turns around, brings out his whip, and whips it out of his hand. And then he kind of like walks into the light, and I love the way that it looks whenever he walks in, because he's just submerged in like shadows. And then he steps into the light and you see his face, and that guy walks away, but one of the other guys stays with him and says like, I'm still down to go with you.
Yeah.
And eventually they stumble onto this like temple, some sort of thing. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it's like this
Cave-ish temple thing
that is said to harbor this religious idol that is like made out of solid gold. It's incredibly valuable, and anyone that has ever gone in there has yet to make it out.
Yeah, never made it out.
It's just booby trapped to high heaven. And I just love watching Indy just
do his job.
Yeah, do his job. Like, he knows the ins and outs of all of this stuff. He is able to apply like just his big brain to these situations, and it's just like, well, wait a minute, let's take a look around here.
Stay out of the light.
Yeah, stay out of the light, because if you go in the light, these spikes are going to come, and that's where this previous guy was. That must have been him, because now look, there's a dead guy on the spikes. Be careful not to step on these things right here, because they could be pressure plates. Look,
right.
Boom, you see blow darts like go across the screen. And so, he's walking, tiptoeing around and all this stuff. And then I even think it's so smart that whenever they go in, you see Indy specifically like get a bag and fill it up with a ton of sand. And you're like, well, I wonder why he's doing that, right? Why is he doing that, And right whenever we see this idol, he finally gets up to it. And I love just the intensity that's in that scene alone of him like working up the nerve to replace it. And I love that he like tries to counter the weight with the sand that we got introduced before, but just the shot of him right as he's about to do it,
and
like he's just sitting there just like, all right, this is it, like don't mess up now, and he does it. It looks like it worked. He starts to turn his back, and then all of a sudden the podium that idol was sitting on just starts to sink. And then ooh. You're like, oh crap, what's going to happen now, right? And then everything just starts to crumble. Like, everything is in shambles. The guy that he came with, who's Alfred Molina, which is
still
crazy.
blows my mind.
Yeah, I found out this is actually his first on-screen credited performance.
Yes.
Wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild.
Yeah, so he, is the guy that's standing in the back. I also love, like, the shots of him whenever it gets cut back to him, and he's just like, like waiting for it, and, just, like, adding to that tension. And as this, this whole temple thing starts crumbling down, Indy doesn't care at this point and just starts running. And he's hitting all these pressure plates and outrunning the darts. And, everything is just going off behind him. And he's just running with the idol. And it gets to a point where, Alfred Molina's character swings across this gap that Indy put his whip on and stays there but keeps the whip in hand. And Indy's on the other side of this now. And Indy's asking his partner, throw me the whip. And he goes, throw me the idol first. And he goes, okay, throws him the idol. And he goes, adios, senor. And drops the whip and starts to walk out. And now we see Indiana Jones is like, oh, crap. Now I'm in a predicament because this whole thing is coming down. This huge stone slab is slowly shutting on me. Mm-hmm. And if I don't get out in time, I'm never going to make it out of here. I'm going to die in here somehow. Mm-hmm. So he runs, jumps the gap, misses it by a little bit, holds on to this weed, pulls himself out and like barely gets under the thing just in time.
Yeah.
And like grabs his whip, stands up, and right as he stands up, he like happens to go into the light as well, and he sees the spikes come out. But now we see that Alfred Molina must have forgot about that because his character is stuck to those spikes.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a satisfying way to end that character,
Yeah.
you know, because we automatically assume this is supposed to be our protagonist that we're watching. We want him to succeed. We want him to get out of there. And this guy did him dirty. So now you're like, oh, man, I want the worst for you now. And
Yeah.
you see that happen immediately. And you're
Like,
just
oh.
like, oh, that's what you get, you know? And I also love, too, that, like, Steven Spielberg wasn't shy with
Spikes are coming through his face.
yeah, with the blood and the violence and everything right up front.
Mhm.
I like that he wasn't shy about that and that he was wanting to show something like that within the first 20 minutes of the film. And Indy picks up the idol, narrowly escapes this crumbling cave, and as he gets out, now he gets confronted by all these local indigenous people that are living here at the time called the Jovitos.
Vitos.
And they're all pointing arrows at him and poison blow darts, and he's just like, oh, now what?
Now what?
And then we find out,
Our main villain.
yes, Belloc, who is a rival explorer. He's Indy's adversary. And he comes out and says, basically, I've gotten good with the Jovitos, and I can speak their language, and they all listen to me now, and I'm basically telling you to drop the idol, give it to me. I'm going to take the credit for it and get all the glory, and you are either going to walk out of here or they're going to like fill you up with poison blow darts and kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Indy gives up the idol and makes a run for it, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love this. scene.
Because they
Yeah.
like almost, it's like their idol.
Yeah.
And they like all bent down and like kneel down to it.
Yeah.
Or bow down to that idol.
Mhm.
And that's when he makes a run for it.
Yeah.
I love that scene where he's running. He's like, what does he say? Start the plane.
Yeah, he's going, Jack, start the plane. And he's just running.
Yeah.
And it's humorous in a way too. And that's one of the other things I really love about all the Indiana Jones movies is that they walk this line of just high, intense action with humor.
Mhm.
And they're able to put elements of like slapstick comedy where like I'm thinking of the scene whenever he pushes Marion's head down and goes and punches that guy.
Yeah.
Or like there's tons of other
Where he just
instances. Yeah.
Shoots that scimitar full.
Yeah, there's tons of other instances throughout the movies where we get funny moments like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that Steven Spielberg decides to show our protagonist in this way because it lets us know that this guy's just a human.
Yeah,
Like,
he's just a guy.
He's just a guy.
I was thinking about that too whenever he is running away from all those people where he's actually like getting damaged and
Yeah.
he's not like, oh, I'm going to kill all these people with my great skills.
Yeah.
Although he is smart, it's just not that he's not that guy.
Yeah, he's not a superhero.
Right.
He is just a guy who loves archaeology and wants to,
He's willing to risk his life for the sake of history.
yeah, exactly.
And even when he gets onto the plane and he's like, there's a snake down here. I'm
Yeah.
scared of this thing.
Yeah.
Like, not only is it setting up that to be later on in the film, but it's also characterizing him of like, this is a real guy. He's scared like anyone else.
Yeah.
He's just an archaeologist.
Yeah.
Which I think is super cool because it's a little bit more like, I might be able to relate to that.
Yeah.
I relate to him a lot more now knowing that he's kind of just like any old
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is why I appreciated the whole intro. You
Yeah.
get the intro of him like being this complete BA,
Mm-hmm.
and then you also get that balanced out with just him being a guy.
Yeah, same.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, me too. What do we got next?
I liked also continuing to just be that guy. It gets cut to after he gets off of the plane. He's a professor at this prestigious college, or is it prestigious? I don't even know.
I want to say it's a big college.
I'm not sure the name.
It
or
looks
anything
like one of
that,
those old school,
but Yeah,
real.
he's a
fancy-
doctor.
Yeah.
He's got a doctorate.
And of course, he's going into a class. He's teaching his lecture, and he's seeing all of his students. That's going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
going,
blink
"Love
it
you."
Dude, I hate that. No, I
Dude.
cringe so
I
hard.
died at that. Where she's just.
That's
Blinking
I have that.
at
I
him.
literally have a moment, and I wrote it down, and I said, "Bruh, love you on the eyelids."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
I want someone that's down for me like that.
I have
bruh.
that in a promo for me.
Yeah,
as well.
me as well. But the reason I like this scene so much is because he gets taken aside and he has to talk to, I think it's like FBI agents or something.
Yeah.
And they basically are telling us the plot of the film. What is the goal? Where are we going to go with this story? And they start to say, like, you know, I think they're not talking about Belloc. They're talking about, like, another guy.
Ravenwood.
Yeah, Ravenwood.
Who is one of Indy's colleagues.
Right. They
And-
intercept a message from the Nazis and they decode it, and it's like the word Ravenwood was in it and the word Tanis was in it. And immediately they're like, Tanis? They found it.
Yeah.
And the guys are like, whoa, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And then they go into this whole, I just liked the whole history. And you could see his passion kind of coming out where he's like, the city of Tanis is this place and it's currently lost and nobody knows where it's at, but you can find it if you go to the specific place and if you have the Staff of Ra.
Yeah.
And he really lays it all out and he tells us the story of the Ark of the Covenant, why it's so significant in history and why no one's been able to find it.
Yeah.
And it really sets us up of like, this is our goal. This is what we're going to achieve throughout the film.
Yeah.
And I loved it a lot.
Yeah, me too. I think it's so effective too in being able to literally lay out the entire plot of the film in a way that's interesting and in a way that like the character seems so motivated.
Yes,
by it.
it I mean, if you really look at it as expository, just telling us exactly how it is.
Yeah.
And yet I still feel like I'm invested, I'm intrigued, I'm loving it because of the characters.
Yeah.
The characters are really selling it like this
Yeah.
is their motivation.
Yeah. I appreciate too, like even in that scene, some characters who barely get any screen time feel so lived in. Like I'm thinking of the FBI guys. Like one of them cuts him off during one of the sentences.
Like random.
Yeah, and one of the guys looks at him and he's just like, "You always do this." Like like it feels like they have that relationship already. But we've seen these guys for what, maybe 3 minutes on screen.
Yeah.
So it's just accredited to the phenomenal writing here.
Attention to detail.
Yeah, and just the acting in general, I think, is really good as well.
Yeah, and that kind of leads him on to he's like, all I need is $2,000 for a trip to Nepal. Yeah, and we were like, okay, well, why? And that gets introduced to the whole... this is why I love this movie so much, is because it's like, once I try to connect the scenes in my head, I'm like, okay, that scene was sick, and it leads to that scene, and that scene was sick,
Yeah.
and it leads to that scene, and that scene was sick. Like, it all just kind of blends together of this awesome set pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, it they actually like work
Yeah.
together. Like I know it sounds, I don't know if that makes
It's
like
cohesive.
Yes, I
Like-
guess that's the word that I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
like they all gel together
Yeah,
effortlessly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that actually leads to my next favorite scene, which is meeting Marion.
Yeah, me too.
Tell me that
I-
wasn't sick.
I
Bro,
love
she's BA.
I love Marion.
She's straight up going,
Yeah.
throwing him back.
Yeah, so give us a little context as to what's
So
going on.
we get into the plane. We're going to Nepal, and we don't know why we're going. We're trying to find a piece that he needs for this staff.
Yeah.
So apparently Nepal has his missing piece, and we get into this bar. I don't know what language they're speaking, but they're just
Me neither.
chanting
No
whatever. They're playing a drinking game. It's an older guy and a female, and we don't know who she is, but she's Marion.
It's the mom from Sandlot.
It is.
Is it
Yeah.
really? I did not know that.
So then it's them, and they're playing like this, like shot for shot drink, and I'm guessing like you have to just do a straight sip on it and then flip it upside down to make sure it's so sober.
Yeah.
Is what I'm assuming. And it's so sick because you think like this puny little girl is not gonna be able to do anything against this big guy, like,
Mhm.
and she wins, and she's like, I think it's her bar, right?
Yeah, she
So
owns the place.
She owns the place. So she's like, all right, that's it for the night. Everybody leave. Everybody's leaving. And then Indiana Jones comes in and goes.
Yeah. I love the silhouette, like
You just see him.
shot of him on the wall.
The shadow.
It's almost ominous that
Yeah.
you see him. Like
he
it's
comes
like
in,
something
you
you don't
see
want to
just,
see.
Yeah, you just see the outline of his hat, and he says something like "Got room for one more" or something like that, and she goes,
Sorry, we're closed.
"Sorry, we're closed," and turns around and goes, "Indiana Jones."
Mhm.
And
I knew you would come back to my bar.
yeah, and that's when we realize that these characters have some sort of history with one another, because Marion starts to say like, "I haven't seen you in 10 years," and blah 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 and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And then we come to find out, oh, these people had a romantic history with one another.
Mhm.
She starts to say, I was just a kid, and he was, Indiana Jones is like, you were old enough to make your choice, and that's what you made, and now we get, we just have to live with it now. And she turns around and just clocks him in the face.
Yeah, she freaking hits him.
She hits him, and I remember seeing that for the first time and being like, oh, what the heck? Like, this is pretty wild that, she's got the guts to just hit this guy. But there obviously was something there, right? And that's when we come to find out that Indiana Jones is here because not only does he have a history with this person, but he knows that her father or grandfather or something like that had the headpiece to the Staff of Ra. And he wants to offer her money to get it from her so that way he can do what he needs to do in Tanis to find the Ark of the Covenant.
Right.
Yeah. The whole rest of this entire scene
The
is
whole rest of the
phenomenal.
scene is
Well, you
insane.
like the shootout?
Dude, the shootout's insane.
The shootout's
Yeah.
But it's
sick.
funny. It's also funny.
It is.
Yeah.
So we get, what's his name? Because they only call him Fraulein, right? Or not? No, she's Fraulein. What do they call him?
His name's like Tot or
I
something.
don't know.
like
He's
that.
just weirdo, burnt hand Nazi man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find him real quick.
Face melter guy.
Serious. Yeah.
Face melter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his
Dude
name
who gets his
Tot.
freaking face melted off.
T-O-H-T.
Tot.
Tot.
I don't know.
So then him and some other people show up, and they're like, we're here for the same exact reason. Indiana Jones. You gotta tell us what he wanted. Like, what he'd come for. Obviously, you know something he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, he was just here. He got a drink, blah, blah, blah. And then they, like, pressure her to, like, try to get words out of her.
Yeah.
And then they're, like, about to shoot her. And then out of nowhere, Indiana Jones comes back and shoots the person who's about to shoot her.
Yeah.
And then it just turns out to an all-out shootout.
Yeah.
And
Well, what happens is they're gonna burn her with the fire poker
Yes.
that's been sitting
That
there.
scene was sick when he like
Yeah, he's like right up in her eye, like gonna burn something on her. He busts back in, shoots somebody. That causes the fire poker to fly into one of the curtains, starting a fire in the bar. And while there's a fire going on, this whole shootout is going on between Indy and the opposition, and it's just insane. Like
Yeah.
there's just, bullets flying left and right, people dying, like
people being caught on fire,
Yeah.
donked on the head.
yeah, like it's just an insane way to not only introduce Marion as a fighter, but also like to see Indiana Jones as a fighter too, because this is the first time we get to see him like really take a situation into his own hands and control it.
Mhm.
And I love the way that they portray him, and the I have to say too, like the way that they make the gun noises sound and everything like that too.
It's insane.
They're pretty wild sounding.
Yeah.
It's kind
they
of crazy.
feel pretty good.
Yeah, and this whole scene is wild. But while that whole gunfight is going on, building is going up in flames, and the medallion that Marion had on, she takes off and gets put onto like this like sort of like candle-like thing, and it starts
Yeah, she
getting
just
really
leaves it.
hot, right? And it gets forgotten about. And while the whole fight is going on, Tot, gets knocked on his butt somewhere and sees it, goes to grab it, and as he grabs it, he like burns his hand on it because it's like super hot. He goes outside and sticks his hand in the snow and all this stuff, and then eventually he gets away. Indy and Marion kill everybody that's in there, and they get out of there. They grab the medallion, and they basically say like, all right, well now what are we going to do, because you owe me a bar and I have nowhere else to be, and now that I have this, I guess that basically makes me your partner.
Yeah,
so,
they're linked together now.
yeah, so wherever you're going, I'm
Me
going to
too.
now.
Yeah. And she always is a liability, honestly. Not gonna lie. Especially leading to my next favorite scene is when they get to where they're going.
It's Cairo.
Cairo.
Yeah.
Okay, they're in Cairo. They talk to that one guy who
Salah.
Salah. And he's I like him because he starts off saying like, are you sure we even want to look for the Ark of the Covenant? Like, it is supposedly really dangerous, and it's
Yeah.
hidden for a reason. Like, it's
Yeah.
not of this world.
Yeah.
And he's given us that like real sense of significance with this item. But we're historians, we need to see it, right?
Yeah.
But they end up going like down to the market or whatever, and there's guys that are walking around. There's a monkey that's involved in this whole thing, and I just loved the whole like fight out or breakout scene where, you know, he's fighting all these guys because they're trying to get him, and then she has to run away from these guys. She's getting into these bucket things, and
Yeah.
she's being stolen. He's having to fight guys with scimitars, and
Yeah.
insane. I think that's one of the most like iconic scenes when that scimitar guy comes out and he's just going.
Yeah, being real flashy.
He's doing all the flashy, and then Indiana looks at him and just goes.
Yeah.
And shoots him. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
this feels so realistic.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
If you had a gun, of course you do that.
Yeah. I was reading too, actually, that whole scene is improvised.
Is it really?
Yeah. Harrison Ford came up with it on the fly. And I guess everyone at that point in the filming was really sick because they all got food poisoning in the area. And Harrison Ford was just like, I just want to get this scene over with, and I'm not really ready to do like a whole fight thing because in the script, a whole lengthy fight between the guy was supposed to happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He said,
And-
"Let me just."
Yeah,
kill
and
him
Harrison went up to Steven Spielberg and said, "Wouldn't it be better if I just shot the guy? Like, I'm already tired as it is, like throughout all the other fighting and running around that I've done here.
quick." Mhm.
So like, wouldn't it be better if my character just decided to just be like, and shoot him and be done with it?"
I
And
love that.
Yeah, and Steven was like, "That's great.
Mm.
Let's do it. Let's try it." And so they did it right there on the spot and decided that was it for the film.
Okay.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say a fact real quick because you said that everybody was sick, and I was like, which is crazy because you need everybody to make a film.
Yeah.
The only one that didn't get sick was Steven Spielberg, and the only reason why is because he's stuck by eating SpaghettiOs. Like he took lots of canned SpaghettiOs and ate SpaghettiOs, and that's all he ate.
Oh well, that seemed to work in his favor this time.
Yeah, he was the
Yeah.
only one that didn't get sick.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I really like this scene because, and we've talked about it before, every single time there's action going on, there's always like another sense of tension being built.
Mm-hmm.
Like whether it's him, you know, walking around with poisoned dates and he's like, oh, you know, he's kind of going through some real light stuff, but he's like, oh, is he going to eat the date? What's going to happen? You know, like there's always something that's getting you invested in what's happening, but also thinking about another thing that you're, you know, tension building. And one of the things is that, you know, she's in the thing. The monkey calls out to the people. They get her while she's in this like basket thing.
Yeah.
And then they kind of blend in with the crowd that's there. They all have baskets that they're
Oh
carrying.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
So then now Indy, after he's done his fight, he's got to find her. He's hearing her
Yeah.
scream for help. And now he's like, oh, crap,
There's
which one?
50 of these things.
So he's going and he's, you know, he's taking people down and everyone's getting pissed at him. And he's like, I just got to find her. And then you see the one run off and he's
Yeah.
like, oh, and they chase her. And even how this scene is, you know, concluded, I think is pretty wild.
Yeah.
I did not
Seriously.
expect it at all. He kind of like, she gets into the thing and he like stops the truck and it flips and then it
blows up.
blows up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of his fault, right?
Yeah, yeah. You see a certain demeanor in his face change, and he's just kind of like, "Holy crap! I just killed Marion.
Yeah.
She's
dead.
gone. Like she was in that truck and blew up, and I am the cause of that."
Yeah.
And he even goes into the scene whenever he's
He's like drinking.
stopping for a drink, and is just kind of like, "Well, what do I do now? Like the person that I love just died in a fiery explosion, and." Like I still have to, you know, try to find the Ark of the Covenant, and she was, you know, going to be a big piece of that and be a part of it. And now she's gone, and
Right.
I probably killed her.
yeah.
And then if that didn't help, Belloc introduces himself again.
I know.
And
he's
it's like-
there every freaking step of the way.
Yeah. So like as if you know Indiana Jones wasn't down enough already.
Belloc is like,
Belloc is like, "Hey, I got something to say. Come over here," and basically tells him, you know, this is going to end the same way that South America did, and I'm going to be there to clean up the scraps while you do all the work and all this stuff. And this specific scene actually has one of my favorite quotes from Indiana Jones, where he's speaking to Belloc, and Belloc says something along the lines of the Ark of the Covenant and how, you know, he wants to talk to God and all this stuff because of it. And Indiana Jones replies with, "You want to talk to God? Let's go see him together. I've got nothing better to do." And I was just like, ooh, he's pissed. And he wants revenge. I can tell, you know, and it's just, a really good scene, and just also really good acting from Harrison Ford here. But yeah, my next favorite scene is actually a little bit ways into the movie whenever they're hijacking the plane.
Okay, so that had to have been after the whole like truck.
They already found the Covenant, right?
Yes. So at this point in the film, they've already found the Covenant, and now they're trying to transport the Covenant, the Ark of the Covenant, on the plane, and then the whole explosion thing happens. So then they gotta put it in the truck and then transport it.
Oh, okay. So the plane. Yeah. So do you like how when they go and find the actual Ark?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have to say I really love the scene whenever they go into the Well of Souls.
Yes.
And find the Ark of the Covenant. But even before that, whenever Salah and Indy go down into that hole and they find out, where the Ark of the Covenant is with the little mini map that's
Dude,
that's
buried
pretty sweet.
underground.
That is sick.
And, the sun hits the crystal right at that spot and it, shows them this is exactly where it's going to be. I love Harrison's look on his face. He's just sweaty and just in awe of everything. And you can just tell, like, this guy is in his element right now, and he loves what he does. And if that wasn't, a big enough of a tension driver, we come to find out, oh, guess what? Now he gets caught while he's down here. His buddy gets caught, and he has to get pulled out. While he's getting pulled out, we also find out Marion somehow lived, and she's being held hostage by these guys. And Indy finds her, recognizes she's being held hostage, wants to save her,
And doesn't.
then recognizes, oh, wait, I can't save you because if I do, then they're going to know that I'm here. So you got to stay here, and I'm going to come back for you. So
I'd be so mad.
Absolute savage.
yeah, so he's, just doing everything and anything he can to try to, make sure that Marianne gets out alive, but also find the Ark of the Covenant before these guys do. And whenever they find the Well of Souls, they, are digging. They tear this stone off and climb down. And as they're climbing into the Well of Souls, they see it's just riddled with snakes, which, of course, is Indiana Jones' like one fear.
Gotta be snakes, right?
Yeah, he even says, too, he's like, of course it had to be snakes.
Yeah.
So they climb down in there. They get the Ark of the Covenant out. I love the huge reveal of the Ark of the Covenant, too, because it also kind of reminds me of Pulp Fiction in a way. Whenever they're opening it up and there's just this glow
Yeah.
is coming out. I feel like Quentin probably took some inspiration from Raiders here, showing the briefcase and all this stuff. And it's just such a cool scene. And I also found myself, whenever they're in the Well of Souls, just looking at just the scale of everything and the set design and
It's
everything.
wild.
I was just like, man, this was all for real, like, created and done for this movie. And you don't see that anymore. I feel like, like stuff doesn't happen like this anymore. And I think that that's why this movie just continues to age so well, is because they pulled no stops whenever it came to making this movie feel as real as it did. And, but yeah, essentially what happens is the Ark of the Covenant gets brought out, but the Nazis and Belloc come around. They find out Indiana Jones is in there. They take the Ark from him, and they leave him locked in the Well of Souls along with Marion. So they throw Marion down in the hole. They lock them up. They find a way to get out by teetering this huge statue of Anubis over and breaking into a wall. And they climb in through the wall.
There's all that dead bodies.
Yeah, there's just tons of mummies. And I even love, too, like, it gets, like, kind of disturbing in some aspects, too. Like, the snake coming out of the skeleton's mouth.
Yeah.
Marion just surrounded by what feels like hundreds of just skeletons and dead bodies, and they're just engulfing her almost, and she's just screaming her head off, and then they eventually find a way to get out of the Well of Souls. And once they get out, they see this huge plane with just these Nazi swastikas all over it, and tons of people trying to basically get this Ark of the Covenant onto the plane so that way they can get it out of here and take it to Germany so that way Hitler can have it.
Yeah.
And hijacking the plane is
a nail biter.
It's a nail biter, and it's one of my favorite scenes here. I love this entire scene.
Yes.
But basically what happens is Indy and Marion find the huge plane. They go over there, and they basically said, like, we need to try to hijack this plane so that way we can take the Ark of the Covenant whenever it gets loaded onto this thing, and we can just fly it a different way, right? But that doesn't end up happening. So what happens is they go up there. Indy's trying to sneak around and all this stuff. He gets caught. He fights one guy, and as he's fighting him, another huge guy comes out of one of these barracks and sees that they're fighting, and calls out Indy, and it's just like, all right, come on, let's go. And when Andy looks at this guy, and he's
like
twice the size of him, and he's just like, holy crap, all right, now I got to fight this guy. And so he's trying to fight him. Marion wants to do something, so she's like, all right, well, I'm going to try to take the guy out that's in the plane. So she gets up there and takes that guy out, but whenever she does, she accidentally kills the guy, and he slumps down onto the controls. So now the plane is like moving in a perpetual circle, and it's running, so the propellers are spinning, and Indy and this huge guy are fighting on the bottom of the plane.
Yes.
So now they're having to fight around this moving plane to not get chopped up by these propellers.
Yes, and other people are coming in, so she's got to get on the guns.
Yes. So Marion,
there's so much things happening.
Marion gets on the guns, trying to shoot people away from them getting over there. As the plane is moving, the wing opens up a fuel truck.
Yeah.
That ends up causing a huge explosion later.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just so much that happens within the span of what feels like 10 minutes, and it's just expert action and tension building the entire time. I love, first off, I mean, whenever I first watched the movie, I thought I had a pretty visceral reaction to the guy getting chopped up by the propellers.
Gosh.
But
you see the blood splatter on the wing? I was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, but I love watching it now. Like, it's one of those things where, you're sitting there watching Indy get beat up. Like, he's getting beat up. And, like, there are even parts of the fight where it's kind of humorous where, he punches the guy barely moves, and Indy just kind of goes like, it's just
I can't
like,
do this right
now. I can't keep doing this right.
Yeah.
And so he's trying. And, the guy eventually knocks Indy down, and he tells him, get up, come on. And he looks and sees the propeller coming at him, and all Indy does is just goes and covers his head real quick, and the guy goes, what? And turns around, and he gets sliced up.
Oh, bruh.
Yeah. And you just see the blood hit the wing and the swastika. And then if that wasn't enough, they're shooting, Marion's shooting this car, and it ends up blowing up, causing everybody to see this huge explosion that's happening, a mile or so away. So everyone starts funneling over there to see what this explosion is about. Mm-hmm. And then while that's happening, the explosion also catches fire with some of the fuel that got caught with the fuel truck that's being pushed that way because the turbines are blowing it that way. So then that gets caught up, and then an even bigger explosion happens. Mm-hmm. And, like, it's just insane. Like, the amount of things that happen within the span of what feels like minutes is crazy.
Oh, yeah. And it's not done yet either.
No.
Because this leads into the whole, the Ark is now being transported onto a truck.
Yeah.
Indy gets on a horse. The horse turns into him jumping on the truck.
Yeah.
He kicks all the guys in. He's stealing it. He's getting hit back. It is the most intense, car chase, overtaking of a vehicle scene that I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
I loved all of it.
I loved it too. This is my next favorite scene as well.
Okay, good. I like the whole scene where it's like the whole time he's driving, he's having to fight off the guys that are on the truck. And then there's guys who are pulling up, and he always has to go and run them off the road. And I love just the visceral damage he does to all the other people. Like, there's one that he runs off the road and they literally fly off a cliff.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I didn't really feel bad. I was more like, let's go. Like, he's making it.
There's one part when he hits the truck, like he straight up rams them off, and I'm like, dude, isn't there 4 people in that car?
Yeah. Or I even love too the stunt work that happens in this scene
yes.
when people are hanging on the side of the truck, and they end up getting taken out by trees, and you see them just flopping down the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is very crazy.
When the door comes off and the guy flies off at the same time.
Wild. I loved all the scenes where we get to see people dying in different ways. I was like, this is so cool.
That truck scene is insane. That chase scene is insane because there's a part when he's getting he's getting dragged by the whip.
Yes.
On the back
Yeah,
of
I
the-
want to talk about
Tell me how sick that is. 'Cause
I love it.
That's
That's
gonna hurt,
it's
bro. You're gonna
the biggest cliffhanger.
It is
Like,
because he's fighting the guy that's he took over, kicked the guy, and then the guy came and did that to him.
Yeah.
He's hurt. I think he even gets shot
Yeah,
at
he
one point.
shoots
Indiana
him
Jones
at one
gets shot
point.
on the arm.
Yeah.
And then he like
Yeah, he knows the guy that's trying to intercept the truck from Indy knows and starts hitting him in his wound,
Dude.
and then
throws
him out the window.
he's on the front. He's gonna get rammed by the car in front of him.
Yeah.
He decides to slide under the truck, go all the way down.
Yeah,
and
as it's moving, he's just getting ripped up by all the rocks and dirt under the truck.
it is crazy that he survives this. He ends
Yeah.
up like hanging on, getting dragged. He has to pull his way all the way back up
Yeah,
and then do the same thing.
And do the
Yeah.
same thing.
I love that. I feel like that kick that he gives to the guy too is just extra hard.
Yeah.
Too. Like when he comes back in, you see him just go, whoa, and like kick that guy with everything he has, and then he throws him out the window
Mhm.
and makes him do everything that he was trying to do.
But
And so
fails.
yeah, and you see him fail, and then he runs him over. You see the guy
Dude,
go,
the,
you know?
the running over looked so real.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It was a bro moment of mine to see
Yeah.
him just going. I was like, oh shit. Jeez.
Yeah, but then I love even in that moment too, because now Indy is like pissed.
Yeah.
And he like puts the truck in a higher gear and is now trying to like ram Belloc and Todd and all these guys off the road. And he's
Mhm.
just like, I'm gonna get you guys.
And he
now."
does.
Yeah, and he does. He pushes them off the road, and eventually gets rid of them for a little while before getting a little further down the road.
Mhm.
And yeah, that whole scene is just intense. I love it.
Yeah. Great scene.
Insane.
Yeah. But that, I mean, gets pretty close to the end of the movie. Whenever I forget exactly what happens with the truck.
The truck gets hidden in Kuros?
Oh yeah, he
At
drives
the
the truck
market?
back to Cairo
Kairos. excuse
and
me.
he hides it basically. And they start to try to transport it on a ship that Salah sets up with
Mhm.
like some pirate friends that he has. And that ship that they're on. Wait, can we talk about the romance scene?
Okay.
I love this.
It was not cheesy.
That was
It
not
wasn't at all.
cheesy.
I loved it every second of it.
I don't know why. Usually the scenes like this, you're kind of like, get
Aw,
over with
man.
it, get
Yeah.
out. But this was just like,
It
he was
was
like,
so
he's just like,
cute.
don't talk to me. Like, leave me alone. I'm hurting. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I love this. So they get on this ship, Marion and Indy, and they start to travel back. And they're thinking that everything's fine. Indy finally gets to lay down in a bed. Marion takes a shower and comes out, and he's just roughed up, and he's just
He's
laying,
messed up.
He
laying
can't
on
even
a
like
bed.
take his shirt off.
Yeah, he's laying on a bed. He's just like, I just want to go home. Like, I'm just tired. And Marion goes up to him and is like, well, I want to help. Like, how can I help you? And he's like, honestly, just leave. Like, I don't even want you around here,
Yeah,
basically. Like, everything hurts. I just want to be left alone. I want to sleep. And Marion is insistent about helping. And she's like, well, what doesn't hurt? And he goes, here.
It doesn't hurt
It
right.
doesn't hurt right here. And she, gives him a kiss right here. And he goes, it doesn't hurt here either. And he like points to his forehead, and she gives him a kiss there, and then she goes, it doesn't hurt here either.
Like right by his
and
eye.
right by his eye, and then finally gets to the point where he's like, doesn't hurt here either.
The way he does it.
I was cheesing.
The way
Yeah.
he does it, he's just like.
Yeah,
I was
And,
cheesing.
they finally get to have a kiss with one another, and then then the next scene comes around where they wake up, they get woken up, and they find out that Nazis have somehow intercepted the ship that is transporting the Ark of the Covenant,
Mhm.
and they take it over. Oh, excuse me. They take it over basically, and get the Ark of the Covenant on their U-boat. And meanwhile that's happening, they're also looking for Indy to try to take him out, so that way they can no longer have to play this game of cat and mouse.
Yeah.
But Indy hides in like these like smokestacks of the ship.
Mhm.
And the captain of the ship, being the goat that he is, was just
We've
like,
killed him.
I killed them already. He's gone, and all this stuff. And he's trying to hide him, basically. And while they take the Ark of the Covenant, they also take Marion. So now Indy is somehow having to be able to get back onto this U-boat to save Marion,
Mhm.
and also try to get the Ark of the Covenant back from these guys.
Mm.
And so we see that he slips out and swims to the U-boat, and basically like stays on top of it until it gets to its destination to where they're going to try to open up the Ark of the Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's insane. They get to this place, and Indiana Jones goes like Solid Snake, Hitman.
Yeah,
and,
Hitman.
like,
He takes
like,
takes
the
disguise.
people's disguise and acts like he's a person in the
Even
army.
runs into Belloc.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, just let him know you're there.
yeah, and basically all that stuff happens. He tries to save Marion. They both end up getting. No, he
He
confronts
kind of, like-
them. He confronts
He
them
with the
confronts them
freaking
with that-
rocket
with
RPG.
Yeah, he's like, all I want's the girl.
Yeah.
I'm gonna blow you guys up.
Yeah.
And then he kind of appeals to his more like,
Yeah.
I know what you value.
Yeah,
You're a historian by heart.
yeah,
You want to see what's in here, just like I do.
yeah. Belloc basically tells him, "Do it. I know you won't.
Yeah.
You want to see it as bad as I do."
Mm-hmm.
And so they set up the whole ceremony thing, and they get tied up to this light post, and they're about to watch,
This-
Belloc and the Nazis.
This is my last favorite scene.
Okay, take it.
The whole opening of the Ark.
Yeah,
Tell me,
it's sick. I love it.
I didn't expect as spiritual as it got, or as like otherworldly. I didn't really know because
What
you,
do you-
think
yeah.
you hear of the Ark and you're like, it's this chest that's
Yeah,
got
that's
the stone
Ten
tablets,
Commandments in it.
the literal
Yeah.
stone tablets that have been throughout all of history.
Yeah,
Right.
and there are stories in the Bible that, if people even touch it, they die.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so
So I didn't know where they were gonna take it. I didn't know how they were gonna decide to show it. You know what I mean? Even too when they were first finding the Ark, there was that like storm clouds that were just
Yeah.
going and brewing, and it was like it always felt a little like ominous,
Yeah.
and like there was some spirit
yeah,
or something around this that
it's
made
like
it.
being disturbed as
Yeah.
it's being dug up. Yeah,
So the way that they showed it, I thought it caught me off guard, and I liked it a lot because they end up he's wearing all the Hebrew garb or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and says all these like ritualistic words, and they go to open it, and there's just sand at first, and he's picking up the sand, and Tut is like laughing,
yeah,
like he did all this for a box of sand. It's
Mhm.
nothing. But then like it starts to erupt and rumble and like emit smoke and
Yeah.
all that. And there's like just tons of ghosts that come
Yeah.
out and fly around, and immediately Harrison or Indiana Jones is like, cover your eyes.
yeah,
Do not look. No
Yeah.
matter what happens, keep your eyes shut.
yeah.
And I wanted to know what you thought about that whole scene.
I thought it was wild. I'm laughing at this scene right here.
Yes. When the dude's going, the light
Yeah.
shining
I
up.
was
Yeah.
dying laughing. I didn't expect sand to be in there. I thought there was actually going to be something.
Yeah,
And then when, like you said, cover your eyes, I was just like, something wild is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like something about to pop off.
yeah,
And then the scene where it's just,
yeah. Basically,
It's like a
whatever the entity that was inside the Ark of the Covenant starts wreaking havoc on anyone that's looking,
Yeah.
and like it starts like zapping people with lightning and melting people's face off. Like I remember watching that scene
like
for
a
the first part as a kid, and I was terrified of the face melt. Yeah,
It's like
I was
a wax figurine.
I was
type thing.
terrified of that as a kid.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
it's iconic, but I remember seeing that for the first time and just being scared because I was like, "Holy cow, dude, this is insane! I've never seen anything like this." You know?
And it just shows the immense power
Yeah.
that this object has. If
Yeah.
anyone could wield that,
Yeah,
there's no stopping.
yeah, and watching it again felt so satisfying.
Yeah.
Watching all these guys go out this way, and be taken out by the thing that they wanted so badly, but Indy being able to hold back and be like, whatever was in here, we are not supposed to see it. So just keep your eyes shut. And they're the only ones that end up surviving is so satisfying.
yeah.
Very, very cool. I really liked too how like after the whole thing went down and they all died through the whole like it's kind of like a Tesla coil.
Yeah.
All the things going in all the people.
Yeah.
Like there's a pillar of fire that goes into the sky, and then it like is somewhat calling back the lid, and it's going woo, 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 and
Yeah.
it just lands like nothing had happened. I
Yeah.
was like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It was such a cool way to show the Ark of the Covenant and how like holy
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then basically from there, Marion and Indy go back and they find out that the Ark of the Covenant, whenever they were told they were going to get it, Indy had argued for it to be put in a museum.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I put down a bruh moment, and I said, bruh, he lied about the museum
Yeah.
because you could tell he
Mhm.
did.
Yeah, and Indy gets pissed and says, they lied to me. I was told that this was going to be put in a museum. That was our
Yeah.
agreement, and we come to find out that the
It's in,
agents
like, a
just
warehouse.
say, yeah, the agents just
our
say,
top guys are researching it.
yeah,
But what's
and
it
you come
called?
to find out in the fourth movie, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that it's put in Area 51.
Oh.
Yeah, because they give you a callback and they show you the Ark of the Covenant in the fourth movie.
Oh.
And so that's where it's been sitting the whole time. is
Yeah,
that it's
I
in
was
Area
wondering.
51.
I had seen because they had what it looked like thousands of boxes
Yeah.
that all were similar shapes and sizes to the Ark of the Covenant. I was like, either there's duplicates or there's just like a bunch of very powerful,
Yeah.
mystical items there
Yeah, that are
Like,
just being held.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah. But that's pretty much the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah,
So, yeah, if there's any other favorite
no longer
scenes here.
lost.
Yeah. If there's any other favorite scenes here, let's move into best quote.
Let's do it.
So, one of the first ones that I had is in that super romantic scene between.
Oh, this is
Marion.
mine. I think it's mine too.
Yeah,
I actually
between-
quoted this one earlier.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, between Marion and Indy. And Indy says something along the lines of, "It's not the years, honey. It's the mileage."
Yeah, she says, "You're not the man I knew 10 years ago."
Yeah, which I had come to find out, too. Harrison Ford ad-libbed that line.
Did he really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw that.
the GOAT.
Wise.
Yeah. Yeah, another one for me, actually, was an interaction between Indy and Salah. And Indy tells Salah, "Meet me at Omar's and be ready for me. I'm going after that truck." And Salah says, "How?" And Indiana says, "I don't know. I'm making this up as I go." And, he goes, and that's when the whole truck interception scene takes place.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I had one from Belloc. First, I just think Belloc is some of his sayings are pretty cool.
Yeah.
But he has like an item. I forget what the item was, but he says, "Look at this. It's worthless. $10 from a vendor in the
pocket watch.
street." Oh, is it a
Yeah.
pocket watch?
Yeah.
He says, "But I take it, bury it in the sand for 1,000 years. It becomes priceless, like the
Mhm.
Ark." And it's kind of true, huh? Like
Yeah.
you think like even in a smaller context of like, you do those time capsules.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's true. It's like you leave stuff, and then after a period of time, it becomes way more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was a neat way, a neat illustration to show. It's just this normal, stupid pocket watch,
Mm-hmm.
but in 1,000 years, who knows where we'll be?
Yeah, exactly.
This might be priceless.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
liked it.
Any other best quotes?
I don't have any
Not from me.
bad dates.
All right. Let's move into the bro moments then.
Yeah,
Because
the,
that's a bro moment in and of
the
itself.
whole
man.
poison date thing was a tension builder.
Yeah, 100%. I thought the little girl who saw that, was it a little girl who noticed somebody leave?
I'm not sure.
That
it was like a
kid-
wisp in the wind. Like, was someone there?
Yeah.
Was they not?
Yeah,
Who
it
knows?
She's
yeah.
being a character in Skyrim. Must have been the wind.
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna do something. But my first bro moment is in the beginning. Is one of the tour guides who was taking Indiana Jones and Alfred Molina in the thing sees the statue and runs away and screams.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm pretty sure they know, like, the tales of what it is that lies in the forest and everything like that. So they're probably scared already. And then seeing something like that just is going to solidify that fear even more. So,
That's
I
true.
didn't think about that.
yeah.
Well, even when they get into the cave, dude, I thought you would be scared of the whole like
Spiders.
the spiders.
dude.
They drop down and he's just going, and the guy
Yeah.
turns around and it's covered.
Yeah, I watched that part back again. I was just like, oh,
They were all
Yeah.
real.
I have.
Did you know that?
Yeah,
were
they are.
real, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
have
stomping.
I have it down in a bro moment where I put the spiders. Hell no. To the no.
Yeah, I said, bruh, I'd feed myself with so many spiders.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were all real and they didn't move until they added a female tarantula.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
I did not know that.
Dude.
They definitely looked real.
Yeah.
So that's.
Jock fishing and not wanting to let go of his freaking fish.
She's like, oh, I caught something.
Yeah.
When that was hilarious, bruh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was laughing.
Yeah. What about the monkey going full Nazi,
Hey, doing the
salute?
I was like, how'd they get the monkey to do that?
Crazy.
It's ridiculous. It's first off because they, Marion has the monkey and she's like, oh, look at what we got. We got a monkey.
Yeah.
It's so cute. And you think, okay, this monkey's gonna be a cute little sidekick for however long.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's part of the enemy team.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny to utilize a
spy.
monkey. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to him do that whole thing, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Funny.
Bro, having Love You on the eyelids.
Yeah. That's a
Like-
bro moment, but kind of a flex too.
Serious.
That's a flex.
A little bit. I mean, you're this, professor who's got your people swooning over you and all this stuff. But also, like, I love that Indy doesn't know how to react to it.
He's kind of just
He's
like,
kind of
He was
just like,
oh shoot.
what? Anyways, we're talking about this,
Right.
and he gets taken aback by it.
All the girls were staring at him.
Hey, I'd be doing that too, man. If I
with that suit he had on, dude, I was
yeah,
like,
bro, Harrison Ford back in the day,
looking good.
outfit inspiration,
Mhm.
fit God. Yeah, yeah. What about whenever Indy starts toppling over all the other people's baskets,
Bro,
in Cairo?
I was
Yeah, they were
busy-
all pissed off.
I was
Yeah.
just so mad.
Whenever he started doing that, I was just like, oh, dude, I'd be pissed.
They have
If I'm walking, and
like
some guy,
clothing in there.
yeah, if I'm walking, I just got my laundry done, and some guy goes, and just starts pushing him over. I'll be like, oh, we're fighting, dude. Like, that's
Or
enough.
imagine if you get like groceries or something. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like you guys had said, whenever the monkey eats the poison date and dies,
I loved that scene.
yeah,
As much as I didn't want the monkey straight up going,
yeah,
I loved that
do
monkey
that face
dying.
again real quick.
yeah, dude, he's sprawled out.
Bad dates. Yeah,
Yeah.
good quote.
Bad dates. Dude, I thought it was funny when the kids saved Indiana Jones
Oh, yeah.
and
When they go around him, they're like, what did they say?
Uncle Indy or something
Yeah,
like
Uncle
that.
Indy, yeah.
And it's so funny because it's funny.
Yeah, hey, can't
Yeah.
argue with that one.
Another one, finding out how the Nazis only had one side of the medallion.
Yeah.
So
That was so cool.
yeah, in a specific scene,
It's the date scene.
The date scene. Salah starts saying like, I don't know how they got, the inscriptions for one side of the medallion because there's only one of them and we have it. So I'm not sure how it is that they got it or how they got the inscriptions or anything like that. And one of the guys is looking at the thing and he says like, oh, this is where this is what the inscriptions say on the back. It says like, don't open it, basically.
Yeah.
And whenever we get to the whole excavation site and Belloc is, going through this whole thing to try to find the Ark, Tot comes out and shows him, and he goes to salute and do the Nazi salute. But whenever he shows him his hand, you get to see that he has the burn marks of the medallion whenever he grabbed it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they got to get just one specific side of the medallion.
But it leads them astray, which is what I liked because one side says the staff needs to be this tall,
Yep.
and then you flip it around, but take one away
Yes.
for honoring God or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's why they are digging in a site that's there, but not quite.
Yeah. And they're also using a staff that is way too tall. So it's going to give them the wrong coordinate.
Right. And it gives us a little bit of hope because now they can build the correct staff, get the correct coordinates, and find the covenant first.
Yeah.
Loved that scene.
Yeah. Another one is seeing Marion and Indy get locked in the crypt whenever, because I don't know about you guys, but I hadn't watched this movie in so long. So whenever I saw that they were locking them up again in the Well of Souls, I was
You're
like,
stressed.
yeah, I was like, how are they going to get out?
Yeah.
Like,
It's kind of ironic for
Yeah.
him, too, because I even think Belloc says, like, how ironic that you're going to be buried here in this,
Yeah.
this lost place. You're going to be a relic like the ones you've been looking for or something
Yeah.
like that.
yeah, he calls back to his line too, and he says, maybe in 1,000 years we'll bury it. We'll
You'll be
unbury
worth
you,
something.
You'll be worth something.
Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well,
Go ahead.
there's a scene. This is my last bro moment. There's a scene at close to the end. They hit a dog with a watermelon.
Do they?
Dog with
Yeah,
the
this
watermelon.
dog is barking at them. It's never mind. It's not at the end. It's when they're chasing him after the car scene, and the truck goes into that like makeshift stand,
Oh yeah.
and you know how the car goes around and around, and then the car stops. There's a dog barking, and the vendors come up, and they're offering watermelon, and when they're offering watermelon, one guy in the back grabs a watermelon and hits the dog that's barking at them.
I missed
I
that.
missed
swear,
it.
bro, it's so funny.
That's
You can hear it
wild.
barking in your ears.
I gotta rewind it.
gotta
I'll show
watch
you
that.
guys after.
That's wild.
Yeah, you got to.
But yeah, that's about it for bro moments for me. Other than Indy threatening to blow up the Ark.
Yeah, other than the stuff we've talked about for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, if that's it for bro moments, let's move into some facts.
Interested to hear about the budget.
The budget, which actually surprised me, to make this movie was $18 million.
In
That-
1981.
Wow.
In 1981, which I bet now is a lot.
Good chunk of
Opening
change.
weekend, it made $8.3 million in gross. For U.S. and Canada, made $248.1 million. In gross worldwide, made $389.9 million.
Absolutely killed it. I
So it
know
killed.
it killed. I know it even kind of killed it at the Oscars too.
Yeah, it won 4 Oscars, which
That's-
I didn't know.
I know it was nominated for 9 of them, right?
Yeah, it won the Oscars for Best Art Direction / Set Design,
Yes.
Best Sound,
Yes.
Best Film Editing, and Best Visual Effects.
Oh.
And then it was also nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, and Best Music.
That's great. Best music, of course.
Yeah,
How could you not? I wonder what won that year.
yeah.
That's
I
crazy.
thought that was pretty
1981.
crazy. But yeah, another one actually I have written down. We kind of already talked about it actually. The scene whenever that guy is being all flashy with the sword, or Harrison decided to ad lib the shooting the guy.
Mhm.
Another one here actually, Steven Spielberg and Melissa Matheson, they wrote a script during shooting breaks on location of the film. And Matheson was there to visit her husband, Harrison Ford, and Spielberg dictated to her a story idea that he had, and they both would work on this script while they would be on breaks during filming. That script would eventually go on to be E.T., the extraterrestrial.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Real quick, I just want you to know that the $18 million budget in 1981 is $59.7 million today.
That's crazy.
Adjusted for
For-
2023.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
that is insane.
Yeah, so it made a
Um,
lot of money.
It made a lot of money.
True. Wow. I thought it was really cool. George Lucas initially created Indy with the name Indiana Smith.
That doesn't
Yeah,
work.
Man.
Indiana Smith. Wouldn't that be a weird movie? Alternate
would.
universe movie.
Yeah, it would.
Steven Spielberg didn't like the name Smith, so they went with the other surname Jones. But yeah, Indiana Smith, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Isn't that weird?
Huh.
Yeah, that would be different for sure.
I thought this was interesting. I thought you would like it, Isaiah. It says the Well Souls sequence was filmed on the same soundstage that was previously used for the Outlook in the Shining Hotel.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Shining came out 1 year
1980.
before, too.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. They really redone that.
It's wild.
Speaking of the Well of Souls, I don't know, you probably have a couple more, but it required 7,000 snakes. And I had read a little bit later that they're not necessarily all snakes. Like there are some that are like lizards without,
Mhm.
like more reptilian without hands and feet and all
Yeah.
that. But they did have some poisonous snakes, so the cobras that you saw when they went.
Mhm.
And apparently, one of the crew members was bitten on set by one of them.
No,
crazy.
really?
That's
Yeah.
it's what it has.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'd even read too that not all of the snakes that are shown are actual snakes. They're like cut up hoses.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like there's a
Oh.
ton of cut up hoses like when you get the big aerial shots. Under all of the snakes too. So that way it looks like there's just tons and
Okay.
tons of all these snakes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, another one that I had actually was in regards to the airplane scene. So the out of control airplane that's going on actually ran over Harrison Ford's knee, causing him to tear a ligament in his left leg.
Are you serious?
Yeah, but lucky for him, the heat had turned the rubber tires so soft that it didn't crush the bone. Rather than submit to the healthcare that was there at the time, Ford just decided that he would wrap his knee in ice and carry on. With
Imagine having a whole plane go over your knee and say, "Let me just wrap some ice on there
Yeah.
and call it a day."
And I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Bro,
Yeah.
That's how you know he was perfect for the role.
that
That's how
means
you
the
know.
sun had to be scorching hot too, though.
Yeah.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
Did you know that if you freeze frame the Well of Souls scene,
I saw this.
you can notice on the golden pillar, you can notice a tiny engraving of R2D2 and C3PO from Star Wars.
That's freaking
Yeah.
George Lucas is like,
Yep.
I gotta get it in there.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Another
That's
one I
cool.
saw actually was in regards to the film in its original condition. So whenever they submitted the film to the MPAA, it was originally given an R rating because of the exploding head at the end alone. And so what they did, because they didn't want the picture to be R-rated, they added layers of fire and a couple other things in front of the face to make it appear less graphic, and that gave them the PG rating that it got.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Easier than it sounds, huh?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I had read too. I was super because it surprised me because it's one of the most iconic scenes of all of Indiana Jones. Him running away from the boulder. I mean, you see it. It's been recreated
So many times.
Yeah.
So many times. Well, he outran the boulder in the opening sequence. He actually outran it, but the scene was shot twice from 5 different angles, so he had to outrun it 10 times.
Dang.
So there's a shot that was left in the movie of him stumbling, and the directors deemed that it was authentic, so they left it. But yeah, he had to do it quite a few times.
Nice.
You think you can outrun the boulder?
Yes.
I think so.
I think so too.
No, I don't think I could.
I think so. I think I could. I think I could beat that thing in a race. The last one that I have. So whenever this film was getting talked about being made, I was reading something to where George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were together on vacation. And Steven Spielberg was looking for a new movie to make. And George Lucas pitched him the idea of having an explorer set in the 30s area, early, America, and having him, go on adventures and find, these artifacts and all this stuff, and basically pitched him the idea right then and there. And they loved the idea so much with one another that they got together with Lawrence, who wrote the screenplay, to start working on it. And they basically just give him all the ideas that he had. He wrote it down all on the screenplay. And whenever they came to pitching the idea to certain studios, despite them having the dream team of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg behind it, it was initially being turned down by every studio in Hollywood. And the only studio to accept it was Paramount Pictures after a ton of persuasion.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's surprising.
Yeah. And I bet you that Paramount is thankful that they did it, because this movie went on to be a huge success.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And spawned, however many films after that, sequels and all that stuff. So
That's funny.
that's about it for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Lastly, for me, body count. There's 64, including the monkey,
That's crazy.
and 11 of those are from Indiana Jones.
That's wild.
The last one that I had was the truck scene sequence. It took 5 weeks to record, and it only made 6 minutes on the film, which I thought
Jeez.
was crazy. 5 weeks worth of film
Yeah,
just for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
worth it though.
Yeah. That's usually how that stuff goes. Unfortunately.
crazy.
I think about that reminds me of like stop motion films. Like I think of specifically Isle of Dogs, the sushi scene,
Dude,
and how
How many-
that scene is 30 seconds.
but
it
it's
takes
30,000 pictures.
Yeah,
or
but
whatever.
it takes weeks to just get 30 seconds of film in a stop motion picture.
Yeah.
It's just
and that's just for that 30-second scene.
and you
Now
still have
make
a
a
whole
2-hour movie.
2-hour film.
Have you guys watched
You know.
Kubo and the Tale of Two Strings?
No, I want to watch it. though.
Freaking great movie.
Yeah.
Stop motion. I saw it recently. I was this close to buying it, but the price was too high. But it's one of those stop motions, and I always see the scenes from film pages that show them manipulating the
The little
little
figurines.
and it's
Yeah.
it's so cool because they're stationary, so you see the people, and it's time lapse. So
Yeah.
you see the people moving, but the figurines they look like they're just
moving in real time.
It looks so cool,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of appreciation for stop motion work.
Yeah, me too. I remember. I don't know if I ever told this story on the pod, but I was obsessed with stop motion when I like first discovered YouTube.
The Lego.
Yes, and so I remember I wanted to make my own stop motion like movie and put it on YouTube. And so I tried to create a stop motion movie out of Legos on my like phone that I had at the time, but I didn't like ever get the technique down correct, or like, the movements of the characters down enough, or like the frames would be just way too dang long. So like what I would do is like I didn't even recognize that like you're supposed to be taking pictures.
Oh no.
So I would like film, stop, and then like move it a little bit, film, stop. Film, stop, film, stop, film, stop. And then the way that YouTube used to work back in the day was, with my phone at least, you could email a video to this YouTube link and it would upload to your channel on YouTube. And I did that and uploaded it to like my YouTube channel.
Is it still up?
No, I think I ended up deleting them, which I'm pissed that I did, because I would have loved.
I was about to look them up.
That's history.
I wish I would have kept them, because I would have loved to go back and watch them. But I remember specifically it was like Batman, like a Lego Batman character, like driving the Batmobile, and it crashes. He falls out of it, and when he falls out, he sees another guy, and then he picks up a gun and shoots the guy.
Batman?
And then like we had a skeleton figurine, and after he shot him, I turned him into the skeleton, and then like made him walk away into the distance, and I uploaded it on YouTube. But like there are certain frames where you see my fingers like manipulating the guy, and like
That's all right.
but at the time I was like, this is gonna be sick, dude, because I watched all these like crazy production ones on YouTube and thinking like that's what mine was gonna look like, but that was not the case. It was all in the act, though. It was all in the art of trying. So, yeah.
I love that.
All right. Well, if that's it for the facts, what didn't work for this movie? I'm going to be honest. I got nothing.
There was just some parts where I found myself bored. The date scene specifically, I found myself bored. And yeah, it was kind of like intense. But I found myself pretty bored there.
Let me guess too. When Belloc and the girl were drinking together.
Yeah, that scene was pretty boring.
It's a little slower.
That
in
scene
that
is a
moment.
little slow, but I will give credit where credit is due, because they intercut that scene a lot.
They do,
and they show like what's going on here versus what's also going on in the Well of Souls while they're digging up the Ark of the Covenant.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that's not all just happening by itself in one shot.
Yeah. And then I just didn't find it interesting. I guess I would just say it's like just not like my type of movie. I don't think it's bad, but I can see how some people wouldn't like it, and I'm one of those people.
All right.
Anything that didn't work here?
Well, I don't have anything else.
Okay. If that's it for what didn't work, what did work?
We could start with the score.
The scores, I mean, if you have freaking John Williams on any score, you're going to have a banger.
It's goated.
John Williams is just one of the best music composers that you could ever have, and if you have that on your film, you're solid.
It's iconic.
It's iconic.
It's people that haven't even seen the film
Know it.
You can go,
Oh, and they'd be like, Indiana.
and they're gonna go, oh, Indiana Jones, and you're gonna be like, yeah, everyone knows it.
Everyone knows it. It is so ingrained in everyone's mind.
Yeah. It's a phenomenal score.
Phenomenal score.
I even love like, not even just the March of the Raiders is what that specific one is called, but like even like his more eerie ones. Like I think of whenever Indiana Jones gets revealed in the intro of the movie.
Right.
It's like very dark, and that's kind of like why it feels like a villain is being presented to us, because like when he comes out of the shadows, it's like this like dark, droning, like bassy strings that come out of nowhere, and you're kind of just like, whoa, this puts you on edge a little bit. Is this our good guy? We don't know.
Yeah.
You know? And I just enjoy every aspect of the score of this film, and you can just tell that John Williams just really came into the film and gave it its own identity.
Mm-hmm.
And it just serves the film.
Oh yeah,
so
it
much
definitely
more.
sets the atmosphere of like this, especially the March of the Raiders
Yeah.
song. It's like this like very upbeat, adventurous. It makes you want to like explore and navigate and find. You know, it's like it really sets the tone and the deeper themes of the film. You know.
Yeah. I also think the writing here as well as the acting are just
Solid.
awesome.
Solid
I
writing.
think characters feel really fleshed out, and I believe everything that's going on. Like I am not for not 1 second questioning anything. I just love everything that I'm being presented with on screen, and whether that be writing wise or acting wise, it's all great.
You know what came to my mind watching this movie was like the museums that we have now. Do you think those fools went on adventures to find stuff like that?
I can only imagine.
Yeah, I don't know.
It'd be kind of cool to see like the history behind some of the pieces there.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. It came up to my head. I was just like, because he was like, he wants this to go to a museum, and then you think about like, well, yeah, I mean, these museums have a bunch of like famous pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Where the heck did they find these? Like,
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say the pacing I think is great.
Oh yeah.
The also in tandem with the acting or the action I should say.
Yeah.
I just found myself thinking about the scenes and how they connected and just being like 1/6 scene to another. Like it was so cool that I was never bored. I was never thinking about what was gonna happen next.
Yeah.
I was always just fully engaged with what was happening.
Yeah, definitely.
now it feels like I'm gonna go back on my statement for saying that I was bored, but the action did work a lot.
Yeah.
Here. The action does work.
Yeah.
And that's something that I feel like I could go back to this movie for the action.
Yeah. I think along the same lines, stunt work
Oh, incredible.
is awesome.
Dude, when they jump,
You don't see many movies do stunt work like this anymore. Like I can only really think of like the John Wick movies in recent memory, because I think of that TikTok clip that went kind of viral with that guy throwing himself down the escalator. If you guys haven't seen it,
probably
I'll show you.
I don't think so.
But yeah, you don't really see stuff like this anymore. And like I'm watching that whole truck interception scene and seeing those guys fall down the side of mountains, I was just like, "Jeez, I know that had to hurt." Like I feel bad for you, man. Like that looks like it hurt. Yeah. Other than that, for me, I think practical effects in this are awesome.
Yeah.
And it's only made the movie age like fine wine. Like I think this movie has aged incredibly well, and I think it will continue to age well. It's something that I think people will continue to watch down the line and just appreciate it even more.
Definitely agree.
Yeah. Anything else for what did work?
No, I mean we've talked pretty much about the main pillars of the film. The set
Alright.
pieces were sweet.
Yeah.
I loved all that.
Yeah, me too. If that's it, who wins this movie? It's got to be said.
Harrison Ford all
Ford.
day.
The monkey.
Gotta love him. The monkey.
Gotta love him. He was great.
Gotta love him.
What are some themes?
Now
for
this
movie.
is something I was just wondering if there were anything deeper than just like good versus evil.
Yeah.
The passion of wanting to excavate knowledge rather than use it for your own power,
Yeah.
because that's all Indy wants to do. He just wants to have it more accessible.
Yeah.
Whereas Belloc is like, I want to have the ark behind me. I want to have power.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like good versus evil.
Yeah.
type
I think
deal.
I can get behind that too, because in later films, that's something that's consistent throughout Indy's character, is that he strongly believes that, anything that is, whether it be historically relevant or culturally relevant or something that, could really be used for the greater good of people, should be accessible to everyone. And I think of specifically the third one. There's a scene where Indiana Jones is much younger, and he's going up against a group of like grave robbers, and they get in a situation where they confront one another and they ask him, why are you even doing this? And he tells them, even as a younger kid, like, this belongs in a museum. People should be able to see this with their own eyes and know that, like, this is where this came from. And, it shouldn't be sold off to the highest bidder like you want it to be.
Consistent.
Yeah, and it's a consistent theme, I think, throughout the movies, but also just throughout Indiana Jones's character as well.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think I'd agree with you. I didn't really write anything down for the theme because I feel like this is just a great adventure movie.
Yeah.
Like you get in and you're going to be taken for a ride and it's going to be a fun time while you do it. So,
yeah.
All right. That's it for the themes. What are we rating this?
I gave it a 7.
A 7?
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. I give it a 9.
I did as well. A 9. I liked it enough to find like almost nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
So a 9 for me.
All right.
I respect.
All right. Well, if that's it, that's about it, the end of the episode, actually, you guys.
Yeah.
So if you liked the episode, we ask that you like and comment on the YouTube videos. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification so that way you guys get notified whenever we upload stuff. If you guys could subscribe to the channel, it definitely does help. We saw a graph recently on the channel analytics that shows that like 80% of people that watch our videos are not subscribed. So it definitely helps whenever you guys subscribe and lets us know that there are more people out there who are consistently watching and wanting to come back and hear what we have to say about film. So
What are we? We're almost at like 100 subscribers on there.
we're
past
at
it.
131 last time I checked.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! I'm so dumb.
But yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, do that for us. It helps and it lets us know that you guys are liking what we're doing. It also helps us to know if we're doing something wrong or if we should change something up. If you're listening on the audio platforms, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, any other place, you can let us know through a rate and review and let us know what we're doing great, what we're not doing so great, recommendations, all that stuff. If you don't want to do that on such a public platform, then you can go to our episode descriptions and find our methods of contact there. In our episode descriptions, you'll find the Instagram as well as our Letterboxd accounts and an email address. So yeah, that's all for you guys. It's for you guys to contact us any way that you guys need, and yeah, we'd be checking those things pretty regularly. Yeah. So yeah, we appreciate it if you guys could do that for us. As always, we're gonna reveal the pick for next week.
Oh yes,
which is Nick's pick.
Yes, if you guys were happy that we watched Indiana Jones, the first one, we're going to be diving into the second one, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yes.
I know this is your favorite.
Yeah, this is going to be the one for me. Like
Okay.
This is the one that I return to the most. I freaking love this one.
Again, it's directed by Steven Spielberg.
His first sequel, too.
Really?
Really?
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to dive back into this universe, see where they go, see what the Temple of Doom is all about, and see if they can continue to just increase the action,
Mm-hmm.
and if they hold on to what they had so good in the first one.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
All right. Well, tune in next week to hear what we have to say about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. As always, this has been the Film Bros Podcast. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.